Bismillah wa salatu wa salamu ala Rasulillah. Brief advice for today from Ibn Ata'il al-Iskandari rahmatullah alayh. This is very pertinent for us in the month of Ramadan as we have different opportunities to make dua. And sometimes we feel that we are not able to focus in our du'as. Maybe at the time of iftar we are so hungry we do not feel like focusing in our du'as. After suhoor we feel we are too full and we cannot focus in our du'as. Different ahwal, maqamat we are going through of being either too hungry, too full. Either way we are not able to make the proper dua. And this is a very slippery slope. Then we think that what's the point of making dua, let me just stop making dua altogether. And that is the objective of nafs and shaitan, to stop us from making dua. So he says that we should not fall into this trap. He says, لا تترك الذكر لا تترك الذكر لعدم حضورك مع الله فيه لأن غفلتك عن وجود ذكره أشد من غفلتك في وجود ذكره فعسى أن يرفعك من ذكر مع وجود غفلة إلى ذكر مع وجود يقظة ومن ذكر مع وجود يقظة إلى ذكر مع وجود حضور ومن ذكر مع وجود حضور إلى ذكر مع وجود غيبة عما سوى المذكور وما ذلك على الله بعزيز. He says, number one, لا تترك الذكر, do not abandon making dua and making dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala لعدم حضورك مع الله فيه, because you say, I do not feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my dhikr. I do not feel the presence of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in my dua. So this thought may not let you to abandon making dua altogether. Why? لأن, because غفلتك عن وجود ذكره أشد من غفلتك في وجود ذكره. Because you're being in a condition of forgetfulness, if you reach the point where you completely forget to make dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you abandon making dua to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, this is worse than making dua to Allah ta'ala while in a state of forgetfulness. So if you abandon, in other words he's saying if you abandon dhikr altogether, that's actually a worse situation, scenario than doing dhikr in a state of ghafla. Because when you are doing dhikr in a state of ghafla, at least your tongue is involved in dhikr of Allah, your body is facing the qibla. So there is some progress, some hay'ah there, some outward surah that you have presented to Allah Ta'ala, but you are lacking that spiritual connection. But you're one step in the right direction. Now if you give it up altogether, you're going back to zero or negative. And he says that, look, hold on to what you have and then continue to work from there going up. Don't go backwards, don't go reverse. And he says, فَعَسَىٰ أَن يَرْفَعَكَ مِن ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ غَفْلَةٍ إِلَى ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ يَقَظَةٍ. Perhaps Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will take you on this journey, on this suluk ila Allah, this path towards Him, that you start off with a dua with ghafla, and you continue on until you reach a level where you have a dua with yaqadha. Yaqadha means you're vigilant, you're awake, you're alert. وَمِن ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ يَقَظَةٍ, and then you move on this journey with a dua, with a dhikr in which you are vigilant, you are awake. Yaqadha means to be awake. إِلَى ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ حُضُورٍ, until you finally reach that stage where you are doing dhikr of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while feeling the presence of Allah. You're on the way towards ihsan. And then he goes on, وَمِن ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ حُضُورٍ إِلَى ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ غَيْبَةٍ عَمَّا سِوَى الْمَذْكُورِ. And then you continue on, subhanAllah, until this ends up becoming your very nature. Just like it's an involuntary thing. The Mashayikh Usuluk, they explain about the sifa of the eye is to see. So when you open your eye, then you're just seeing. Automatically seeing is on. Vision is on, activated. You don't have to think and concentrate and make an effort to, okay, let's focus on this eye. Come on, let's start seeing now. You can do it. You don't have to do any extra effort. Soon as you open your eye, then you are seeing. I know I'm like absolutely khali of this more than anyone else here, but this is what the mashayikh have written. So likewise, on the path of suluk, you finally reach that stage where you don't even have to focus the heart towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is what the last stage is, where he says that إِلَى ذِكْرٍ مَعَ وُجُودِ غَيْبَةٍ عَمَّا سِوَى الْمَذْكُورِ. The heart is now absolutely free of any other thought besides the one who is being invoked, besides the one who is being remembered, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the heart is literally da'iman, it is mashghul bi dhikrillah, it is involved in remembering Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is seems like such an impossible maqam to reach, and that a person may object, like, how is that even going to happen to me ever? Should I even dream of reaching such a state? So that's why Shaykh Ibn Ata'illah Al-Iskandari rahimahullah, he closes off this particular word of hikmah from his hikam by saying, وَمَا ذَلِكَ عَلَى اللَّهِ بِعَزِيزٍ. And remember that this is never difficult for Allah. For you it's impossible, for you it's absolutely difficult. How can you ever hope to reach such a stage where by default your heart is engaged with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times? But remember that this is not up to you, this is up to Allah. And if Allah selects your heart and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala chooses to grant you that maqam, then eventually you can reach that maqam. But where we are right at the beginning, where our hearts are in ghafla, in the state of dua, and then we want to end up leaving dua or abandoning dua. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala wake up our hearts and allow our hearts to become amongst those that are awake and those that are connected to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala at all times. Wa akhiru da'wana alhamdulillahi rabbil alamin.